I'm Dina Bass-Williams.
And I'm Dee Dee Bass-Wilbon.
And we're the Bass Sisters.
And this is Policy and Pound Cake.
And we are celebrating Father's Day today.
Father's Day.
Yes. Our dad passed away on Valentine's Day 2009. We miss him and love him. And thank God every day that we had a father who was just, our dad. Let me just tell you about our dad.
Okay.
He was crazy.
Very.
He was a twin. He also never, not one day in our life were we confused about whether our dad loved us. Now, I'm not saying that he was a perfect father and that everything was always rosy, but we were raised by a man who told us he loved us
on a daily basis,
all the time. So he always told us he loved us,
and he was just a dad. He enjoyed being around us. We had fun. And he was cool. Everybody thinks that their dad was cool and everything.
Our dad thought he was Denzel.
No, Daddy was Denzel before Denzel.
Dad was Denzel before Denzel.
He really was. Jerry Bass, he is just awesome.
And we see evidence of his love for us in the way we do business, in the way we love each other. Because you are getting to know the Bass Sisters, and we, like Dee Dee and I, we love each other.
We do.
And we love each other fiercely like this because our dad loved us fiercely. He taught us what it means to be loyal. And so in front of the camera, Dee Dee and I, we're on the same team.
On the same team.
And you're not gonna see, like, if we were on The Amazing Race or Survivor, these shows where you see families
people fussing and fighting, acting like a crazy
in front of people. No, you're not gonna get that. Now,
behind closed doors now. But you know what? Even behind closed doors, when we have those little intense fellowship moments, they last for like
and then we start laughing because we like family over everything because our dad taught us family over everything.
So we are excited to celebrate our dad. We love him. We know that he is watching over us and watching over our families. And so we love him. But we're celebrating him and all dads today.
Because dads matter.
They do. They absolutely do.
Dads matter.
So get ready for an amazing show with some amazing dads.
Some really cool dads.
So we are so excited to have these amazing dads with us today on our podcast. And I think it's absolutely awesome getting ready to celebrate Father's Day. And we wanted to do this. It was really important that Dina and I did this because we believe that dads are being kind of marginalized and not being celebrated the way we think that you should be celebrated. So we decided to do a podcast
to talk to some dads, some amazing dads. And so first of all, thank you all so much. Again, as Dee Dee said, thank you for joining us for this Father's Day podcast. And, we'll just start off with whoever wants to answer the question. What do you like? We know what we loved about our dad, but what do you love about being a dad?
I think so. One of the things I love about being a dad is if you have multiple children, you end up seeing the multiple interactions and how you love on them. I think it first starts with understanding your children's love language and loving them where they're at. Remembering that love is not a take, but a give. And you have to teach and lead by example as a father. So you give love what they need. So, for example, my oldest daughter, her love languages are words, affirmation, and gifts. So she loved to go shopping, be told how much she's loved. My son was about time. So he'd rather go do something and do an event. So I think you have to remember to love them where they're at. Coach Wooden used to have a phrase, love them as hard as you coach them. I think it's love them as hard as you parent them.
Wow.
I like that.
Awesome.
Absolutely. I like that you said that too, Dean, with leading by example. That's we do our fitness program, and our kids love to jump in and follow along with that, and we try to relate that as much as we can to them being children. But it has gotten to that point where I find the most important thing for me right now as a father is just actually physically being there. And there's so many different ways for people to say this is how you should be a parent. But I've realized, especially, through learning from my father too, is just physically being there. That's what the kids remember more than anything. So I've really tried to just physically be there with the children more than anything, that my 3 kids. So.
And Mr. Watson?
For me, I think the best thing about being a dad is just kind of watching your children from, as a toddler up until the point where mine are adults and they're living their own lives, and seeing the influence that I've had as a father so that they can be productive, in society. Just giving back to the community. My son has finally got out of the house and moved down to Atlanta, and he's living his own life down in Atlanta. And just watching him blossom because he's left this environment is really been a blessing to both my wife and I, just to see that. So just watching that baby grow into the toddler, to the preteen, the teen, the young adult, and ultimately to an adult living their own life has just been the best blessing that I could have as a parent.
That's awesome. I have a son and a daughter. And they say boys and girls are so different, and they really are. And I know that you guys also have boys as well as girls. Who, for you, has been the most challenging in terms of just raising boys and raising girls? What has been the most challenging of doing them, of raising boys and girls?
Boys by far, and I think it has to do with who their mother is. You guys know Joanne, my children's mother, and she leads by example in her life. And so the girls don't get into catty, they don't get into arguments, they don't get into things that I think many girls follow their moms are. That are naturally in ways that they follow. So I think they just like fathers and mothers, they follow by example. But by far, my son must have some of me in him because he is definitely 10 times harder to raise than my daughter.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because for me, I'm going to say my daughter. And to piggyback what you said, my daughter and I have the same birthday, right? So
I didn't know that.
I know that we have very similar personalities that may come out differently because she is a woman and I'm a man. And one of the things I learned, and it was from my father-in-law, is like with your daughter, with the son, you worry about the one man, but with your daughter, you got to worry about all of them, right? And so trying to guide her to make good decisions and, and show her through my loving of my wife that this is how a man is supposed to love you. And really those challenges for me were the hardest between the two. My daughter, yeah, definitely.
And, we want to bring in, we have another dad that's joining us, and because we want to get as many dad points of view. We have Khazi Whitfield, a girl dad.
A girl dad.
Is that how it goes?
That is girl. Oh, you're a girl dad, right, Khazi?
I started off as a girl dad, and then now I have step kids. I have a son, and then I have a grandson on top of that. So it quickly escalates.
Excellent. So, Khazi, we've been talking about, and you can just tell us what is the one thing, like what is one thing that you really love about being a dad? We'll go back to that question for you.
For me, being a dad has made me actually a better man because I had to become much more empathetic. I had to be a much better listener than I ever thought I would actually need to be. It's one thing to listen to your wife. It is something else to listen to 2 little girls who have your heartstring, and they're giving you stories about all kinds of stuff you don't care about, but you still have to engage and be there and be present. And so when I now engage other people, I am now a lot more tender and I listen a lot better. When I could have blown their statements off, they have pushed me to go, Dad, stop talking and listen more. And so I listen a lot better now with them, having become a stepfather. And these are to grown adults, right? These are to grown people. Understanding a place in their life as you come into their life has been interesting because they didn't need a dad. They had one. So now who are you? So again, it's shut up, stop talking, and figure out what place you can serve in their life. And I figured out places. And so and it wasn't holes that their dad was, inept at. It's just things that I was good at. And so that gave me an opportunity to engage them. And being a grandfather is just the best thing. Throw all those kids away. Grandfather is way better than all of that.
Yes. I'm a grandmother, so I understand that. I skipped over the whole kid thing and married a man with 5 grown kids. So I love being a grandma.
She loves being a grandma.
Hey, parenting is great.
So, Dee Dee started off talking about how, dads are in some ways being marginalized, and we definitely don't ever want to be, guilty of marginalizing dads. So tell us, how do you feel the role of dad has changed over the years, and how has it not changed? And should it, is there something that should change from, the way we were parented? I guess that's really it.
The way we were parented. But I don't think kids don't. I found that kids want a level of discipline. They are actually, in some senses, drawn. Now, they're not drawn to violence, but they are drawn to discipline. So where you can engage them, bring structure to their lives, put some boundaries and some no's in their environment, isn't a bad thing. You just have to be willing to make them mad on occasion, but they'll be fine. That's been the biggest thing that I've seen. A lot of kids just don't have boundaries. Nobody has told them no. Some of these superstar athlete kids that have been great athletes since 12, nobody's told them no. I work with young people all the time, and they just kind of feel like life is supposed to give them whatever they want. Some of that structure and boundary is really where dads can step in and just be that loving influence to say, you can go this far and no further.
I like that.
I would say empathy. Somebody mentioned it earlier, but I think at the end of the day, we were raised in a generation in the 70s and 80s where, you were kind of told, listening to kids and trying to understand their perspective. Some great parents did, but not all parents did. And, I think that the balance of getting their perspective with holding respect and holding discipline in a loving way is something that I think has changed over the decades.
I agree. I think that so I look at a lot of the young adults nowadays and this whole just how they think about themselves. And for a while I used to say, oh my God, these young people, they're so entitled, and they only think about they're selfish and stuff. But then I had to sit back and think, well, we raised them that way, right? Mm-hmm. So we raised them on the sports with not keeping score, right? We raised them with participation trophies, and we raised them with this thinking that you can do anything that you set your heart to. And I'm not saying that hard work and discipline can't get you to be successful in life, but I can't, for all intents and purposes, I cannot tell my son, who's barely 5'6" and 110 pounds, that he's going to be a middle linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. No matter how hard he tries, right? And just a lot of these kids, they've not been set up to experience life in real life, and failure. And when I talk about failure, I'm not talking about just messing up completely, but learning the lesson from not gaining what you aspire to gain. I mean, there's always a lesson. There's never really failure. You always can learn something. And I think, when I was coming up, it was no. You will lose every once in a while, but you need to be able to get up from that loss, dust yourself off, move forward, and figure out what you could do better for the next time, so that you can win whatever that win is. I just think that, for me personally, I just see we've gotten a little bit soft. Like the gentleman was saying, adding discipline, and society has made it difficult for us to really truly discipline our kids because they're force fed that they can do and say whatever they want and think that it's okay. Yeah, it's just, there's a big change, I think, now as opposed to 10, 15, 20 years ago.
So Dirk, what about you? You are doing, you have the younger,
I was going to say
the itty bitties.
Right. So 7-year-old boy, 5-year-old daughter, and then almost 5-month-old little daughter too. So, Rick, I completely agree with kind of what you're saying. I think that the biggest difficulty for my age right now is that even though I should not allow them to have a lot of technology, we still have to be, sometimes you just need it. So we're doing our workouts or whatever we're doing, hand them an iPad or whatever. You're not going to be able to keep them completely from technology nowadays, but it's that big difference between reality versus what they're watching on YouTube. And I mean, there is stuff that they learn now through that YouTube and social media that can be educational, but a lot of it is not really teaching them what we learned growing up. So there's a big difference there. I think that's, once you get closer to Father's Day, you start kind of thinking about how my dad raised me compared to what they're going through now. And the big problem is that they're such fact checkers now, is that you can say something and you say, that's the way that it is. And they say, well, I can Google, so I can prove you wrong. And then half the time you do get proved wrong. So you just, it's tough, but that's the big juggle right now is reality and fact checking versus the social media and them being able to search stuff on their own. It's a hard balance there. So
I agree. Good points.
Well, all of you have girls, and the 50th anniversary of Title IX is coming up in regards to girls sports. And I have a daughter, and she plays lacrosse. So I want to know, what are your thoughts on girls sports and what it would mean if Title IX was compromised?
And are your daughters? We know that Dean, we know some of you have girls involved in sports. Dirk, I can only imagine that
your girls will be in sports because they already are working out at the small ages that they are.
So Dean, you were going to say?
I was going to say that I think that we have to be careful that anything with Title IX or any of these set-asides, we'll put it, can be taken out of context. We have racism, we have reverse racisms. Today, as a white male, I have a 10% chance of serving on board because I'm not black, female, or gay. Like, those are the things that they want right now because they're focused on diversity. I think we have to remember that God celebrates diversity in difference of opinion, difference of thought, difference of a personality, difference of experience, and true diversity. Men and women can be celebrated versus, I think, some of the ways that these things have been taken out of context and they focus on I'll call it the divisity versus the diversity.
Mm-hmm. Now, so and this is obviously policy and pound cake. We won't pretend that we are not, policy driven,
right?
But we also believe in the marketplace's ideas, and I don't think anyone on this call is confused about where Didi and I stand in terms of our policy. But we do.
Dean City.
But as it relates to issues like Title IX, 50 years ago, there were about 300,000 women who participated in girls sports, both collegiate and high school. 50 years later, because of Title IX, over 3 million women are participating in sports.
Right.
And for us, it was great because we learned how to win. We learned how to lose.
Right.
Because Didi and I are healthy now because of the habits of exercising as kids. But so we played sports all throughout high school and in some cases in college. But if Title IX is compromised, so yes, it is sort of a set aside, but if Title IX is changed under the way the rules are going to be rewritten, the word sex will be changed to mean gender and gender identity.
Right.
And we, no secret, I don't think it's going to surprise any of y'all, we think that would destroy women's sports. And we do believe that if there's a set aside for women's sports, then that should be for women and not for men who think that
who
today
decided that they are women.
Going to be women. So as we're having this, casual, happy conversation about
celebrating
dads,
Father's Day,
it's also light. How do y'all feel? How do you feel about
setup?
What's that?
It's all a setup. Go ahead.
It's all a setup.
But no, how do you feel about it? Like my daughter, she's a lacrosse player. She's a goalie. And any of you that know about lacrosse, boys lacrosse is completely different than girls lacrosse. Like vastly different. It's faster. All of the boys wear helmets.
I feel like it's dangerous to be a spectator watching boys play lacrosse.
The only person that wears a helmet in girls lacrosse is typically the goalie, which is my daughter. So to have a gentleman out there who decides today that he's a girl playing up against my daughter, when he slings that ball at her in the goal, it's coming 20 times faster than it is when her friend Sienna is throwing it, versus when Jim, who says that he's Jane, is throwing it. So how do you feel about that?
We celebrate true women as Jesus and God birthed them out of their mothers, not somebody that wants to change their identity. Me.
Right. And I would have to agree with that. I think that it's gotten really out of control in terms, and I appreciate people for people. I appreciate people for their ideas and their creativity, but in some instances, there is no way that we can think of that as being equitable in a sports scenario. So if they're wanting to put everybody out there in an environment where everybody is supposed to be able to compete, there's no way to do that and have people that have decided their sex to be in that environment that way. I just don't think it's not fair if you did it either way, did it either direction. It would not be fair for that situation, and I just don't see how it makes sense.
I think Dina and Didi know where I stand. My wife is a lot more vocal than I am on certain topics. I know they've had discussions, but honestly, I agree with Dean. I celebrate women as God made women, and for me, I just think it's an attack, right, on women, and I don't think people are looking at it from that perspective. And this attack has been going on for decades. And there's a subset of people who have come together with a common narrative to infiltrate society so that they can get what they want, how they feel. My truth is my truth. And if you don't agree with my truth, then you are a hypocrite, or there's some sort of phobia that you have against how I identify. And I think we need to be very mindful that there are strategies that they are coming up with. And like you're saying, compromising Title IX is a strategy, because this is being fed to these young people at the high school level to say, now you compete here as a woman and we will take care of you on the back end, right? People are, I always, for me as a cybersecurity guy, I look at a lot of ones and zeros, but I always say follow the money, and you will see time after time after time, it's rarely about how someone feels, right? It's about a narcissistic kind of personality, and it's look at me, watch me, and agree with me, regardless of what you may think about it. And I want to pause there because I can get a little passionate about that, because then I'm going to go into scripture and stuff like that.
Okay, so really quickly, we have two quick questions. The last two quick questions. First, I want to know, how are you guys going to celebrate Father's Day?
I'll go first. We are going to be on a boat. My wife is going to grab a crab boil bags from this newly opened restaurant. We're just going to hang out on the Potomac River, and I'm going to enjoy some crabs and some ginger ale.
Sounds good. Dirk, what are you going to do?
Well, it's more about this weekend, really. Not that we came to the Black Hills for Father's Day, but Sunday, technically on Sunday, we'll be piling into our Tahoe and then driving back 6 hours to the east side of South Dakota. So, but the weekend will be spent out here in the hills, celebrating my father's memorial that he passed a few years back. So we're going to spread his ashes, and it's going to be a special thing. So a very memorable Father's Day for me, for sure. So
Amen.
Awesome.
I'll be in Cape May, New Jersey with my kids, and at least two of them. I think the other two older two can't make it, but be enjoying some time there at our beach house.
Khazi?
Very nice.
I start the day leading worship as my church as I usually do, and then I will hang out with the missus for the rest of the day and let her spoil me. Sounds great.
Awesome. And Dina, our last question.
Yes, our last question. This is policy and pound cake, and so
this is the most important question.
This is the most important question. When we are talking policy or politics, we love to be at our mom's kitchen table with a slice of pound cake.
A big slice.
What is your go-to? What food is best to eat when talking policy or politics?
Is Fireball off the table?
You got it.
No,
for
go
me,
ahead, I'm sorry.
For me, it will be probably some sort of dessert, like you said, that you can focus on the good conversation and the meal versus maybe the emotions.
Got it.
So I have had slices of your mama's pound cake, but for me, I would probably point to my wife's cornbread.
Ooh, okay.
Nice.
She's been holding back. We haven't had that.
For me, it would be chicken wings. For me, it would be chicken wings, so that if a conversation gets a little rough, I can just bite down on one and not show all my emotions. So
I haven't had them, but I hear Khazi makes really, really good chicken wings.
Okay.
Dirk?
My family, or my wife's family, owns a bison ranch here in South Dakota. So I just want bison ribeye.
Wow.
Nice. Sounds good.
I think the next time we come on the show, you need to ship us all a pound cake, and we can have pound cake while we're eating on the show.
We should do that.
We really should do that.
Will.
Dean, I think you started something, so we might have to do that for the next time. Absolutely.
I'll send everybody Fireball.
We'll start.
We want to say thank you guys so much for joining us, and we really hope that you have a truly blessed Father's Day.
We so appreciate you, dads. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They're great. There are some really cool dads.
They are.
Really cool dads.
And I just realized you have actually known Khazi since you were 18, freshman year of college.
Yes.
That is a long time.
That's a long time.
What a great group of dads. Dads matter.
They do. They absolutely do matter. And we would just like to say happy Father's Day to the dads that were on the show with us, but also happy Father's Day to my husband, who has been an amazing dad and an amazing bonus dad to my children. I love you, babe. Thank you.
Yes. And happy Father's Day to my husband, who is the man of my dreams, because he came to me with children who were grown and paid for. He's a wonderful father of amazing children.
And grandfather.
Yes. But this is Father's Day. It's not Grandfather's Day.
Yes, okay.
Because we do need to celebrate Grandparents' Day. Because I'm a grandparent.
She's a grandparent. But happy Father's Day to all the amazing dads out there. We appreciate you more than you know. In case you missed them, you can listen to archived episodes of Policy and Pound Cake, link in bio.